If this is your first time in Photoshop, no worries. We will be covering pretty much everything from the ground up. So let's go open Photoshop CS6. If you've worked in Photoshop before, you'll notice some differences. Previous versions have had a light interface. This version came along 1 or 2 ago, and they've done some really nifty things. So let me just explain kind of what we're looking at here. In the very top is the overall window bar. If you click on that, you can drag and reposition Photoshop on your screen, or if you hover over any of these 3 dots in the corner, you get some options. The X will close out the Photoshop window. The yellow will minimize it down here to your dock, and then you can come and click on it again to bring it back up. The green will size it to the size of your screen. So I'm going to click on the green right now. That way I don't have anything distracting around the edges. Let's start over here on the left. This is the toolbox, and it is full of different tools that we will go over in this course. Along the top, well, let's stay over here for a second. So as I click on these tools, you'll notice that the information along this top bar is changing. This is the control bar, and it has the controls for that individual tool. Over on the right side are your panels. Now, Photoshop automatically has these ones here open and arranged when you first open Photoshop because that's what it believes you want. However, these panels are highly adjustable and there's a lot more that we could open and access. So let me just show you how panels kind of work to begin with. One thing Photoshop has done is made these panels very collapsible so that if you want more screen space, you can get it. At the very top of each of these kind of rows of panels is a little double arrow. And if you click on that, it will collapse the panel down to a more minimal setup. And if you hover over the line separating the 2 columns, you can even collapse it down even more to be just an icon. In this form, you can access any of your panels if you need to know what their name is. If you hover over it, it will show. But if you click on one, it'll pop up and let you use it, and it will disappear when you click on another one. So that's a useful feature. But for right now, let's open up at least one of these. Now, in each of these panels, what we actually have is a collection or group of panels that are made up of tabs. So here's our color panel, and next to it is the tab for the swatches panel. And together they make up a single panel grouping. Now if I decide that I actually don't want to use something, I can close it and get rid of it so I don't have to look at it. So I'm going to adjust some of my interface here. I don't typically actually use this color adjusting one, so I'm going to click on the tab, drag it away to tear it off, and then a little X has appeared at the top. I can click on that and it will close the panel. If I decide at any point that I want it back, going up to the window menu, clicking, and looking for the name of that panel will bring the panel back. Now if I wanted to actually rearrange it into my group of panels, it's really easy. All you have to do is grab that tab, click, and drag back over. Now you'll notice when I move it around, there's kind of areas that pop up blue. If I wanted to actually add it as its own panel group between the top one with swatches and the next one adjustments, I would drag it till a blue line appears between those two and then let go, and it would appear as its own panel group. Or I can drag it over an existing panel group until the whole box illuminates with blue and let it go, and that will arrange a tab there. Down here in the bottom where there's already 3 tabs for layers, channels, and paths, you'll find you can even rearrange what order they're in if you really want to customize your workspace. So as we go through class, we'll probably add more panels and you'll come across an arrangement that you really like for your personal use. Now you can actually save that arrangement as a workspace. So up here in the top right corner, there's currently a little drop down that says Essentials. So if you click on it, it shows you several different setups that automatically come with Photoshop. So if I click on the one below Essentials, it's going to change the arrangement of my panels until it is in that workspace. So this one is called New in CS6. So if you've actually been a previous Photoshop user, you might find this one interesting to see what new features have been added to CS6. There's some new things in, there's mini bridge, layers, more adjustments. So these all, even though they may have existed in a previous program, such as adjustment layers, they have new features. So those would be really fun for you to check out sometime. There's one for typography, so it will make the type panels more prominent. What I usually end up doing though is sort of customizing a single set to where I like it. Let me reassure you right now, when you arrange your panels and close down Photoshop, the next time you open it, if it is on your personal computer or an unfrozen computer, Photoshop will remember exactly where you left those files or those panels. If you are on a lab computer that the computer essentially resets every program every time the computer restarts, you won't have this to go back to. But a little while later down the line, once we've had a time to play with Photoshop, I'll try and remember and show you how to export your workspace so that you could actually take it along with you and open it up in any Photoshop. I think that covers most of what I wanted to say for panels, because I showed you sizing, collapsing, expanding. Oh yes, there is one more thing. Within these columns, we can actually collapse the different groups. So to collapse a tab group, you just double click on a tab and it will minimize it and readjust the one below it to take up more space. So again, this is a really useful feature if you happen to like all of your layers or all of the color or all of the paragraph tools being the only thing visible, but still have your other panels readily accessible. That's the main Photoshop interface. Pretty much everything that you need for Photoshop you can access through the window menu into these different panels. We will go through what is in each of these menus. The other thing that we're going to touch on briefly every now and again are shortcuts. So a shortcut is when you press a combination of keys on your keyboard to make an event happen, such as making a new file. Well, the long way to do that is in File, or in Photoshop, you go to the File menu and choose New. Now you'll notice in this menu, let's see if it'll let me scroll in. Nope. In this menu, next to the word New, there's a little icon with the letter N. This little loop-de-loop thing, sometimes referred to as a clover, is the Command symbol. So you'd hold down the Command key and press N, and that would do the same thing as clicking on this to get a new document. The other thing we use short keys for are accessing our tools. Now, I don't expect you to use these, but if you do want to become a very fast, efficient Photoshop user, it's a good idea to pick one or two to learn and focus on with every project that you work on. To find out what a what a tool's shortcut key is, all you have to do is scroll over it and hover, and it will appear with the name and the letter that is the shortcut. The main reason I'm actually showing you this now is sometimes as we're going through, you might hit a key to activate a shortcut and not realize you have, and then be confused how you got your lasso tool when last thing you knew you had your eyedropper tool. So just heads up, there is that feature. Okay, really truly, I think that is it. Let's wrap up this one and move on to our first practice assignment.